an absolute thumping by the West Indies of Pakistan. A game that in its entirety lasted just over 35 overs after Jason Holder won the toss on a gloomy day in Nottingham and decided that Pakistan would bat first. And boy, did their batsmen disappoint. Only 105 managed, only 4 batsmen getting to double figures, only 22 as the highest score by Fakhar Zaman and Babar Azam. But full credit to O'Shane Thomas, Jason Holder, Andre Russell, who broke the back of Pakistan's batting with some mix of short pitch and full length bowling. In response, Gayle with the 50 and some back pain himself to take back from this game. But he wouldn't mind if it comes at the cost of a couple of points and a very healthy net run rate. This is ESPN Cricinfo Matchday UK 2019. Welcome to all our viewers on ESPN Cricinfo as well as all our viewers on the Caribbean. Let's get thoughts from Daren, Ganga and Murali, Kartik as we look back at this. The words from Jason Holder even in the presentation were, we wanted to get the first game out of the way. There seemed to be a nervous anxiety of sorts of this young captain and this mix of youth and experienced team. And we're very pleased that this is the sort of result he's got in his first game.
Yeah, I think if you look at what transpired before this team entered the World Cup, I think Melinda raised it. This West Indies team had to qualify to gain entry into this main tournament, and they narrowly got entry. Yeah. Having said that, I think you look at West Indies' record over the last year and a half, not the best of records, you would say, as an international side. So coming into a tournament where a lot of people are saying that you're the dark horse, you need to deliver and deliver well to confirm that. It also underscores an important point in the Caribbean. For the last year and a half, we've not seen the senior players be a part of this West Indies setup across formats. So the inclusion of Gayle, Andre Russell, look at the impact they've had in the first game. I think it sends a strong message to all the powers that be in the Caribbean that our senior players must be a part of this West Indies team if they are to be competitive at a global stage against the best team in world cricket.
It's not only about a Pakistan team that may not have turned up on the day, Kartik. It's also that some serious muscle has been flexed by the West Indies as to what is their USP, what could they threaten other teams with. Short pitch bowling, quick bowling, Gayle in ominous sort of form. How many boxes have they ticked for you and what's the biggest message they've sent?
See, the biggest box, and I think me and Daren were discussing this on our way here. When you talk about West Indies and the power hitting ability, Evan Lewis is not there. So you can think of him in the setup and what kind of ability they have. Somebody like a Shea Hope is one of those guys who's like a glue. When you talk about Babar Azam as the guy or the fulcrum around whom things work out, I think Shea Hope is that kind of a player around whom you have the likes of Nicholas Pooran, Andre Russell, Shimron Hetmyer. The one thing which I wanted to see, and it's early days again, it's West Indies bowling. What they can do. And I definitely thought that Jason Holder, the odd over, if it's not swinging, I don't think he should be bowling because it was friendly stuff early on. It's only when Andre Russell made that impact, it's only when O'Shane Thomas came in that you actually felt the force or the pace of the West Indian bowlers. So bowling is one area where they're going to be tested. Apart from that, batting obviously was not a big chase. It was a tricky chase. It can be a tricky chase. But going into this game with early nerves, with the kind of things they did, it was a great thing for West Indian cricket, and the fact that going into the next game, you're confident, you're quietly confident about the fact that these are things which are going to work for us, and these are also things which we need to look at. And none of the spinners were summoned. That will be something which will be interesting when, because it's only 21 overs. 21 overs when you're constantly losing wickets to seamers, no captain is going to bring a spinner on. So these are the quiet things or the small things which they have to look at. But look, it was a nothing game to be. It was such a comprehensive performance for the number of overs which happened.
Yep. Misbah, you've heard Sarfraz Ahmed react at this game. He said that his batsmen didn't quite show the sort of patience that he would have wanted. He did say there were some soft dismissals. Now, there are many questions. All of a sudden, it's not only the bowling and fielding, but the batting that is questionable. They only have 2 days before England, arguably the strongest opposition in the tournament, come to Nottingham. What do they need to address? How can they fix this problem that you've seen after a game like this?
Yeah, I think this is the biggest problem with this Pakistan team. If you look at last 10 or 15 ODIs, we've been chasing. We are very much reactive in every aspect of the game. That's what happened today. Sarfraz, in even post-match presentation, said that we know that weather around and there is a little bit in the pitch. it's going to be a little bit helpful for the faster bowlers in first half an hour. So what they need to do in that sort of situation, I mean, you don't just go there and assume that what happened in the last series, we're going to get 350 runs, we're going to get good score. So I think that is very important, that you need to understand what sort of strategy you need on this pitch in particular circumstances. And we are again reactive. That happened to us, and now we are saying that we need to be more patient out there, especially the way West Indies were attacking with the short balls. That should have done there and then. And Pakistan should have played first 20 overs with that kind of approach, that, okay, it's happening, they are getting a little bit more bounce off the pitch, and they are bowling attackingly. We need to just absorb pressure, we need to build, we need to preserve wickets for first 20 overs. And once the ball gets softer, it's pretty much one-dimensional bowling attack. After 20-25 overs, we can just capitalize on that. But again, we just lost the wickets, and then it wasn't in our hands once we had too many wickets down.
All right, Misbah, just stay with us. Time for a very short break on ESPN Cricinfo Matchday UK 2019. More from Misbah Ulaq, Daren, as well as Murali, Kartik on the other side. Stay with us. There's still a bit of build-up that we can do to tomorrow, and look back at how Pakistan can improve in 2 days' time.
I think my best 12 could be Sachin Tendulkar opening with Chris Gayle. Not necessarily in batting order, but Ricky Ponting, Viv Richards, Brian Lara, A.B. de Villiers, Gilchrist, who we can use to open the batting and be the wicket keeper. And then the headache starts even a little worse for me now, because you have people like, I'll have Shane Warne in it, Wasim Akram for variation, Curtly Ambrose and Glenn McGrath as the 11, and then Muller to run in the 12, and that would be my 12 because of various reasons. I want the two spinners in the squad because if the wicket is good enough, I'm going to attack with them. And I think I have enough base with the seamers to cover that as well. Two guys who were probably very close to it was Jack Callis and Joel Garner. And I'm just going by what I've seen and the guys who have played with or against.
Right. Looking back at that extraordinary West Indies performance, it couldn't have been any better if you have to start your World Cup campaign. They now have 5 or 6 days off, so it's a nice schedule for the West Indies. Sit back on this win and then wonder on what you need to do before Australia come knocking at Nottingham at the same ground. Very quickly, before we leave our views in the Caribbean, Daren, Ganga, what are the areas you still think Jason Holder needs to work on that perhaps weren't tested today because of the contest that it was?
I think the points coming out from this game is the fact that there's still vulnerability in this West Indies batting lineup. The quick wickets of Shea Hope and Darren Bravo will be a concern. There was a little bit of a stutter in this short run chase. No scoreboard pressure, you would say, but if you're chasing a total in excess of 300, then I think it brings the question of an Evan Lewis into this batting lineup. We heard that he was injured, so not considered in this game. Carlos Brathwaite would have been given the opportunity, but I think if Evan Lewis is fit, he should be a part of this batting lineup. The other point I think which is important is Jason Holder and the West Indies think tank, they must be bold in their decision making in terms of team selection. If they're not using a spinner, Chris Gayle could be an ideal option as a spinner. He's got 165 one-day wickets, so maybe play Carlos Brathwaite and not the specialist spinner, and give yourself batting and bowling strength.
All right, we'll also be hoping from the West Indies point of view that Chris Gayle's back heals these few days. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Till then, bye-bye. And viewers on ESPN Cricinfo, stay right with us because we have a more detailed look back at both Pakistan and the West Indies, the result of this game. Misbah, I'll just come to you for one last comment from you as well. this is perhaps where the captain becomes again the most important person in the dressing room. You must have been through this before. You need to lift a team after a disappointing first game. How would you do that? What does Sarfraz Ahmed say at this point? And does he have it in him to lift this Pakistan team after this sort of crushing defeat first up?
Yeah, I think he can. And the way he did it in 2017 Champions Trophy, the first game against India, total disaster, and then they fought back very well. After that, they haven't lost a single game. So that's the kind of belief they need in the team. And I think top order, they are doing so well. One odd game is not going to just ruin that. Okay, that was a starter. That was an important game in the World Cup. But still, they had so many games and so many runs behind. I mean, with averages of more than 50, the top order, all three. And then Haris has been in very good form. So one game, you could have that sort of game. Just get that out of your mind. Go there and believe that whatever you did in the previous couple of series, you can just repeat that. And once we have a very good start in Pakistan team, then I think we are such kind of batting lineup that we can score 300 plus runs. And runs on the board, Pakistan is always a difficult team. We can just get that sort of spark in our bowling lineup. So that's what we need to do, remind your good performances. And obviously you need to work hard in your bowling department and your fielding department.
Right, just looking at some numbers on Pakistan's batting before I say goodbye to Misbah, because I think there's one more chat to be had into the personnel, whether Misbah still thinks these are the right batters for the tournament. We're just looking at Pakistan's shortest innings, Misbah, in Cricket World Cup history in terms of overs. This trumps the game against England at Cape Town in 2003, so not a happy stat that Pakistan fans would like to see. The point you make, Misbah, is this just the sort of game that you can't overanalyze, or do you think there's room for a change in personnel with the bat? They left Shoaib Malik out, they left Asif Ali out as well. Would you be looking to change things against England, or would that not be the right thing to do after just one game?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. We need panic in the dressing room because these top four performed so well over a period of time, 4 or 5 months. They've been scoring consistently. And that was the difference today, that all top four, not a single one just scored runs today. And that's why we struggled. Any team, if your top four fail on one day, that team going to struggle. So I think whether you play Shoaib Malik or Asif Ali, that debate becomes secondary if you are already 4 down in first 10 or 12 overs. That debate only comes if you have 30 to 35 overs, your main 4 batters are batting there, and you got around about 180 or 200 runs on the board, then you need that sort of firepower. So I think we need consolidation at the moment in our batting lineup, and that's what we required in the coming game. That game, sometimes it happens, first game, conditions a little bit different, and we were not used to of that, losing so many wickets in the first 10, 12 overs for such a long time. So that happened, and we could not just get out of that. So I don't think so. You need to overanalyze that. Okay, fine. We need to understand quickly in this World Cup, revise your target quickly, analyze the condition quickly, and then you can reset your plans. Otherwise, if you are thinking only about 350 and suddenly you go in, lose toss, there's a little bit in the pitch, and you just start getting outs, and then you are nowhere. So that is something which you need in this World Cup, just to read the situation quickly and handle that there and then.
All right, Misbah, thank you very much for joining us. I hope Pakistan will give you more reasons to smile in the next game against England. And I won't be surprised at all if they completely change the narrative and we have other things, more positive things to talk about in terms of Pakistan cricket. But thank you very much, Misbah, for joining us. Misbah-ul-Haq, former captain of Pakistan. We will continue to get Misbah's deep analysis as things go forward. And he's got a lot that he's got right about this Pakistan team. Let's see if they can turn things around for their fans against England. let's take the few positives from this game, Kartik. Mohammad Amir would not have had much incentive to bowl with a target of 106, but from what you saw, was this showing shades of Amir that was still, at his best? Does it give Sarfaraz a little more hope and optimism?
Look, Amir's strength was his ability to curve the ball in at pace, and I don't think I saw enough of that. Wickets under your belt always help. No better recipe or no better, what should I say, nothing different you can ask for a bowler apart from wickets. But if you ask me if he's the Amir of old, possibly not. The pace is missing, that big swinging incoming ball is missing. So I don't know. I'll reserve my opinion.
Okay, what about the West Indies front? It's such a win might at times find it hard to say that, all right, everything seems to be looking good, but I want you to dig deeper. This team, when it came out in the morning, you thought of whether Carlos Brathwaite would be the sort of selection that you would want to make. Assuming more and more people get fit, Evan Lewis gets fit, and they have everyone to choose from, what should the West Indies' ideal 11 be going forward?
I would say Evan Lewis into the side. If the West Indies think that there's something in a particular pitch for the slow bowlers, then Ashley Nurse is your first choice. If they think that playing four fast bowlers is going to be beneficial to the team getting wickets, then you've got to be bold and make that decision. I also think you need to use the capacity within your team. Everyone was talking about Andre Russell and his batting. Look at what he produced with the ball.
Yeah.
So too the same must be applied to Chris Gayle. I said before, he's got 165 one-day wickets. He is a genuine spin option.
Yeah.
So don't just pick a genuine spin option to contain the opposition. If you're thinking about getting wickets, pick bowlers who can get wickets.
But does he want to bowl 10 overs?
Well, I don't think he will bowl 10 overs. But it is to use the all-round abilities of every single player to get the best out of them. I think that's important from this win. O'Shane Thomas, big positive. Pace, 4 wickets, the first time he's played against Pakistan in a one-day game, and look at the impact. Good choice to play him ahead of Kemar Roach.
Yeah, good selection and vindicated with the performance O'Shane Thomas put in. The word on Chris Gayle is that he's also right up there in terms of the number of sixes that have been hit in World Cup history. So 46s now, the 3 that he hits today puts him significantly above A.B. de Villiers, and he'd be delighted that everyone else on that list is retired, and in the end of this World Cup, so too will Chris Gayle. So he'll have this record all to himself, will the universe boss. And let's not rule out that he might come back, because retirements are hardly permanent these days. But the point you make is valid. It's not only about Chris Gayle, as to what we see. We're hoping that he doesn't have that back that will trouble him too much. And the West Indies would be threatening over his fitness and that of Andre Russell, who we see pull up every now and then, Kartik.
Yeah, that is something which we have seen quite often, right from the IPL. But yeah, Chris Gayle is somebody, when he's fine, and look, it goes for every sports person. Once you have a few niggles, you're not sure about what you can deliver with that kind of a pain or problem. And we saw a minor blip in his form, in the way he hit. In fact, he's just turned around the corner, the way he started playing in the last 1 year or so. His hitting ability, his ability to literally pulverize the opposition. And for the sake of world cricket and for sake of every fan, it's just brilliant that Chris Gayle is there and is in fine form.
Last word from you. This could also create a little more of, it could almost give the West Indies a little shot in the arm in terms of following, more and more people wanting to watch the campaign if they start off like this?
Yeah, I think the 12th man will come into play more and more. I know a lot of people back in the Caribbean will be very happy with this first victory. It will drum up some support, and then the message and the vibe around the team. And the positive vibe is always good at the start of a World Cup to push you with that momentum.
Not the longest flight as well, if you want to just jump in from the Caribbean.
West Indies, now and forever.
Kartik, singing is not bad.
Yeah, this is where we know we need to move on to the next game. Well done to the West Indies. They've got the points on the board. They can now sit back over the next few days and see how everyone else starts off their respective World Cup campaigns. First up, tomorrow, as we look ahead to the games in the World Cup, match number 3, New Zealand against Sri Lanka, the two teams that kicked off the last World Cup. And here they are now again with a very different form building up. to this year's campaign. A lot of good things being said about Kane Williamson's side. On the other hand, Sri Lanka, they have found themselves in a bit of a rut in terms of leadership, personnel, lots of old players brought back. Let's look at some key numbers and key stats for key players. Trent Bolt will be a threat in these conditions. India saw that in the warm-up game. It'll be no surprise if we see the very best of Trent Bolt in Cardiff, where there has been a bit of weather around as well. That's what we've got for Bolt. 44 wickets makes him the most prolific wicket taker in overs 1 to 10 in ODI cricket since World Cup 2015. And you think, Daren, looking at a bowler like Trent Bolt, if he gets on a run, if he gets 1 or 2 games going, we might see the best of him like we did in the last World Cup.
Yeah, last World Cup lead-in wicket taker with Mitch Stark. His accuracy, something that would be important. The uniqueness of him being a left-armer as well is always good. He can swing the ball. He bowls at rapid pace. So that's something that Kane Williamson will lean on. But this team has a good all-round sort of ability as well, this New Zealand team. They have the record of being in the final in the last World Cup, and they've been a very consistent team. So you got to give them credit in terms of their reputation. And with the astute leadership of Kane Williamson, I think this team can go very far in this World Cup.
Yes, not only with Trent Bolt with ball, but Ross Taylor with bat is another key player for New Zealand. In spite of being, I think, the senior most player in this team, Dan Vittori did point out in our preview on ESPN Cricinfo for New Zealand that Ross Taylor is the man who New Zealand will rely on. And again, Kartik, you re-emphasize the points of the middle overs with ball, bat. Ross Taylor, looking at his runs since 2018, he's second only to Virat Kohli. He strikes at 91 and he comes in at about 4-5, essentially playing at that strike rate in those middle overs.
Yeah, it's important, isn't it? He's the senior most guy, and also as a player sometimes you want to reinvent yourself because every opposition is trying to work out how to restrict you, how to curtail you and how to get your wicket. And the Ross Taylor of old used to only start swiping everything towards the onside. Now he's an all-round player. He hits the offside consistently, and you can't just bowl outside the off stump and get away with it. So it's that kind of a player, and I think that's made a huge difference in the way he plays the middle overs, because it's not about the end overs where you can walk in and start hitting towards square leg and mid-wicket. In the middle overs, you need to work the areas because the bowlers are bowling a different line and leg. So I think that's one of the reasons why he's so consistent over the last 2-3 years.
And Sri Lanka going into this World Cup, change of captaincy, Karunaratne is in charge, few old players brought back in, Kartik. It's almost like Pakistan where they're hoping some players get it right. I'm not sure they too are clear of their ideal 11.
No, they're not. They've not been for a while now. They've had, their island has been strife with so many problems with whether it's cricket or otherwise, and it's not been an easy place, to be honest. Lots of allegations, lots of things going around. If you have such a cloud surrounding a side, it's never a comfortable situation, not a comfortable area for players to thrive. And I think that's one of the reasons why they've been struggling. Look, it's not as if they can't play. It's been a very proud cricketing nation for a very long time. Just the politics over the number of first-class teams has diluted the quality of cricket over there, and post that the number of selections as well. Yeah. So when you have those kind of problems, it's never easy. You just hope and pray that for the sake of world cricket, for the sake of World Cup, we see a very strong Sri Lanka, because they've always been very proud of the way they play cricket.
Yeah, we'd like some slightly more competitive cricket now. South Africa have done the business of giving us a grand opening day for England, and Pakistan will be up and down, but we need close games. We need games that go 98, 99 overs and maybe get interesting. Afghanistan v Australia may not be one of those games, but I don't rule out that Afghanistan will be giant killers in this year's World Cup. And which bigger giant, or what bigger giant in international cricket, in World Cup cricket, than Australia? Imagine if they are to trouble the Aussies in Bristol as they start their title defence. What's about this Afghanistan team? They tend to win a lot of hearts. Can they do more in this World Cup? Let's find out with our team preview for Afghanistan.
The Afghanistan team seems like they're perpetually plonked in the middle of a fairy tale. Their story even starts with a once upon a time. Once upon a time, not so long ago, they were in Division 5 of the World Cricket League, the lowest division recognised by the ICC at the time. Now they're in the top 10. They have a few characters who'd fit right into a fairy tale as well. This is their Prince Charming. At 20, the leader of the attack and the best all-rounder in the world. This guy is the elder statesman. Did you know that he was man of the match in Afghanistan's first ever one-day international played in 2009. Put a beard on his face and a staff in his hand and he'd be your wizard. Their story has seen incredible highs, especially the wins over Sri Lanka and Bangladesh in the Asia Cup group stage in 2018, topped by a tie against India in the Super Fours. Any fairy tale worth its salt needs an unexpected hurdle too. And for Afghanistan, this comes in the form of a captaincy controversy. Ashkar Afghan, captain for 4 years, was replaced by the inexperienced Gulbuddin Naim in April, a move that was publicly criticised by both the Prince and the statesman. Their World Cup campaign starts against defending champions Australia. And while it's too early to talk about endings, this is the perfect setup for a fairy tale beginning.
More such ESPN shots on ESPN Cricinfo.com as well as the mobile app. Let's focus on Afghanistan's strength, one of them being the use of spin and the fact that that's something that's got them a lot of wickets in the last year or so. The other side, there's also Australia's suspected vulnerability against spin. And what sort of team will they put out? They've managed 140 wickets as, I was going to say Asghar Afghan's team, I must now call that Gulbuddin Naib's team. 140 wickets in the last 28 matches. That's what they've got since 2018. So they like their spinners, Daren, but in the preview that you did with us, you thought maybe they shouldn't overdo the spin attack.
Yeah, and I said that because you need to also make runs if you're playing against an opposition. Rashid Khan, he's been a leading wicket taker in ODI cricket. Both himself, Mohammad Nabi, they've done the business before. They add to the batting strength of this team. Mujibur Rahman, he's good. He's the youngest player in this World Cup. I think if you play 3 spinners, then you sort of limit your batting and your batting depth.
Yeah.
So that's a decision they will have to make. If conditions suits slow bowlers, then they should go with Mujib. But I think against Australia, you still want to give yourself a chance. So this Afghanistan team, it's a competitive unit. If you look at their record in the last year or so, they've been sort of mid-table in terms of wins. So I don't like being one-dimensional. I think you've got to play according to conditions, use the capacity that you have. But I just feel a little more balance is what is required for them to be competitive against Australia.
Yeah, that being said, though, their strength is spin. Now, if your strength is spin, regardless of where you're playing or who your opposition, would you be tempted to go?
I would always do that. The reason being that you look at the squad, if we can have their squad, two of them do bat. Somebody like Mohammad Nabi bats, Rashid Khan bats, possibly Mujibur Rahman doesn't bat. Do they have the quality in seam bowling? So you've got 3 wicket takers. If you don't get them, and they can literally rattle through the overs as well.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned, if Australia get into a bit of a hole, and you've got spinners rattling through the overs, you don't get out of it.
Yeah.
And also, I don't think you need to play these 3 spinners at the expense of the batsmen. You've got enough batsmen, you pick your batsmen, but these 3 guys must play because they bowl at all times. Mohammad Nabi can bowl at any time, Rashid Khan bowls at any time, Mujibur Rahman bowls at any time. And if you've got 30 overs of quality spin and wicket-taking spin, I would always play it.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. But not at the expense of batting, though. Yeah, you need to get runs. It can't be that you give them 100 runs and expect 30 magical overs. That's not happening.
Yeah.
But the thing is that you pick these 3 bowlers, I will always pick them because they don't have that kind of quality. Just like you talk about Australia, they have Nathan Lyon, but Nathan Lyon is not a proven performer in one-day cricket, although he's a stunning bowler in Test match cricket. So they don't pick him. Somebody like a Zampa who will never get a game in Test match cricket will play ahead of him because they've got quality seamers. So you have to play your strengths over there.
Yeah. It'll be a brave spinner to want to play at Bristol against the teams, against a batting lineup that includes the likes of David Warner. What sort of form is he going to be in into this World Cup? My God, if the IPL is anything to go by, then he will find he will be needed because middle order run numbers for Australia against spin aren't necessarily great. They do not have Peter Hanscom, who's one of their better players against spin, though Brad Hodge did believe that Steve Smith and Glenn Maxwell, they've got those bases covered too. David Warner's a big player. There was some news around whether he'd be fully fit or not. It does look like he is to full fitness, and you just get the feeling between Warner, Smith, it could be ominous the sort of form they're coming into this World Cup.
Yeah, I think the hunger as well. You've got to take into consideration these 2 guys didn't play international cricket for years, so they want to prove a point. This is so much a different Australian team with these 2 guys. they're cutting edge, you would say, the only team in the warm-up matches to win their 2 matches before the start of the World Cup. So you look at his numbers, he's a consistent performer across formats. He had a very good IPL, scoring the most runs. He can bat pace, he can bat spin.
Sure.
And even if they lose wickets early, Steve Smith, he can play in the situation. He's a man for crisis.
Yep.
Unorthodox in his approach. So these 2 guys are 2 big ticket items for Australia.
All right, Daren, Ganga, Murali, Kartik, we'll get more detailed thoughts, if you can possibly get more detailed than that, but that's how good you guys are. We're going to have you in studio all day tomorrow, so we're looking forward to that. New Zealand v Sri Lanka, and Australia v Afghanistan. Daren and Kartik have an early evening, but they will be back, and we hope to have your company for that doubleheader on Saturday as well.
I think we have discussed everything today, nothing left.
No, you still have to come back, Kartik. You must come back. What will our viewers do otherwise tomorrow when New Zealand, Sri Lanka and Australia, Afghanistan start their World Cup campaigns? We'll see you for that tomorrow on ESPN Cricinfo Matchday UK 2019. Bye-bye.